As HutVent 2024 draws to an end, we have a story for you today about two remarkable women, Elsie Knocker and Mari Chisholm. The two of them had become firm friends even before the war, and they'd bonded over their joint passion for motorcycles. Elsie had got a number of motorcycles and was a member of the Gypsy Motorcycle Club, which had earned her the nickname Gypsy. Elsie was also 30 years old, and Mari 18 when they met. And Elsie had been married and divorced and had a son, although she hadn't actually mentioned that she was divorced to Mari. She simply said that her husband had disappeared in Java or somewhere like that. When the war broke out, they both volunteered for Hector Munro's flying ambulance column and went over to Belgium. And they landed in September 1914 and straight away found themselves dealing with horrendous injuries of Belgian soldiers arriving back from the front line. But in the November, they decided that the two of them could do a better job if they were much nearer the front line and were patching soldiers up directly off the battlefield. So they moved up, just the two of them, to the village of Pervase, where they found a house with a cellar which was strong enough to use as a dressing station. And it was literally only 100 or so yards behind the Belgian front line. And for the next 3.5 years, they stationed themselves there, patching up Belgian soldiers as they came out of the front line, as very often going into no man's land and picking them up themselves and bringing them back. And the cellar was reinforced. They had concrete poured into it. They had steel door put on it that they got from Harrods, and made it a pretty sound place to patch soldiers up, although a couple of times they were bombed out of it. Over the 3.5 years that they were there, they won numerous awards from King Albert of the Belgians, the Order of the St. John of Jerusalem. The pair of them even got a military medal each for going into no man's land and rescuing a German pilot who'd been shot down. They did find time for a bit of romance. Mari became engaged to a pilot who was sadly killed in a flying accident not long after. And after a whirlwind romance, Elsie married the Baron de Cercles, who was a Belgian fighter pilot, and became Baroness de Cercles. In the spring of 1918, during the German offensive, the whole area was soaked in poison gas and high explosives, and the two of them got quite badly gassed. Ultimately, it led to the two of them returning home and never returning to the cellar at Pervase. They both joined the Women's Royal Air Force and spent the rest of the war serving with them. After the war, Elsie's husband, the Baron, discovered that actually she was divorced and her husband hadn't in fact died in Java. And needless to say, he wasn't very happy about that. And neither was Mari, because Mari realised that Elsie had just made it all up and hadn't told her the truth, and she never forgave her. So the two of them hardly spoke again. Both of them went on to have long lives. Elsie died aged about 95, I think, in 1978, and Mari in 1981. Extraordinary women, they really were. And we're incredibly lucky in the Great War Huts collection to have a copy of the book, The Cellar House of Pervase, which is their story, which was put together from their journals. And it was published in 1917, and it was edited by Miss Mitten. I've not managed to find much more information about Miss Mitten, but it's a lovely copy. It was probably Miss Mitten's own personal copy, because inside it there are letters tucked in, including one from Elsie herself, saying we've enclosed some photographs that you might find useful for the book, and signed by Elsie, and another from A.A. Gordon. And A.A. Gordon was Major A.A. Gordon, and it was his idea. He said, this is just too good a story and it really needs turning into a book. So he really has the responsibility for it in the first place. And there's a lovely letter to Miss Mitten from Major Gordon as well. But not only that, inside the book, there's a cracking photograph which, in its original form, has facsimile signatures on it. But in addition, the two women have signed it, Mari Chisholm and Gypsy de Cercles. They've signed it themselves, actually, in the book. It's also signed by other people who were at the cellar house at Pervase at the time, including the staff and other people who worked there. There's a whole page there of signatures of people, and some of the quite senior people who were responsible right from the outset, including Major Gordon himself, who had signed it at Pervase on the 23rd of June 1917, and all sorts of other people. A lovely one there, Mari Chisholm herself, signed it. It was they called it the British aid post at Pervase in the 3rd Belgian Division. So a lovely, lovely copy, very, very personalised to them, and just lovely that all these years later it had survived and helped tell their story. So the book itself is not uncommon; it does turn up, but to actually find one that had got all those signatures in of the people who served with them, that is a bit special.